The Time Traveler's Murder. Solving crimes in different eras. In the shadow of time itself, where the fabric of existence trembled and whispered secrets unknown to mortal comprehension, there walked a figure, neither bound by the dust of centuries nor by the fleeting whims of the present. He was Elias, a traveler who had breached the very borders of time and space. A man whose identity was as malleable as the epochs he traversed, whose destiny was governed not by the natural order, but by something more ancient, more sacred than any god's will. His purpose: to solve crimes that had never been committed in the present, yet were written into the future with the indelible ink of fate. Elias had arrived in a time where darkness reigned, and though the world around him pulsed with the promise of dawn, the echoes of a great crime still lingered in the hearts of the people. This was not a simple matter of law and order, but a riddle wrapped in layers of temporal distortion, a riddle he alone could solve. For in his mind lay the knowledge of 1,000 deaths, each one a thread pulling him deeper into a tapestry of interwoven histories. He stood in the silent, dusty library of Alexandria, the oldest surviving archive of human knowledge, its stones steeped in ancient wisdom. Here in the vast, untouched halls, the crimes of the future lay hidden. Elias could see the crime before it happened, hear the murderer's voice before the words were ever spoken. His gift was not just that of a detective, but a prophet, an oracle who saw the future unfold before him like a scroll being unwound, each line and chapter a prophecy he must unravel. The first murder had happened long before his birth, yet he could hear its siren call, drawing him from the depths of time. It had been whispered of in the cryptic writings of a mystic long forgotten, and now it was his mission to unearth its true meaning. A murder, yes, a death that would shape the destiny of the future, but one that had yet to be written. Elias was not alone in this journey. Beside him stood the figure of Clea, a woman who was as much a part of this mystery as he was. She had been his companion across countless lifetimes, a soul who had crossed time with him, her presence both a comfort and a burden. They shared a bond that transcended time itself, a union of purpose and sorrow that no mortal could fully comprehend. Clea too had seen the shadows of the crime, had glimpsed the fleeting moment when the murder would occur, and together they would face its hidden truth. "Do you feel it?" Clea's voice broke through the silence, her words cutting through the heavy air like a knife. "The pulse of destiny." Elias nodded, his eyes distant as they gazed upon the scrolls that lay before them. "It is not just fate that moves us, Clea. It is something older, something we are yet to understand. These crimes are not of this time. They are fragments of a larger, cosmic puzzle." She placed a hand upon his shoulder, her touch both grounding and ethereal. "Then let us find the pieces, Elias. Let us solve what the universe has yet to reveal." The library, with its countless volumes of forgotten knowledge, seemed to hold its breath as Elias and Clea made their way deeper into its heart. The flickering light of a nearby lantern cast dancing shadows on the walls, and the scent of ancient papyrus filled the air. Each step they took was a journey through time itself, each movement a thread unwinding, pulling them closer to the moment of reckoning. As they reached a secluded corner of the library, Elias stopped before a particularly ancient text. It was bound in dark leather, the edges frayed with age. Upon it were symbols that seemed to shimmer in the dim light, words that were both familiar and foreign to him. He reached out with trembling fingers, his breath catching in his throat. The words seemed to call to him, beckoning him forward, urging him to uncover their hidden meaning. Clea, too, felt the weight of the moment. "What is it?" she asked softly. "A clue," Elias replied, his voice steady but filled with awe. "A clue that will reveal not just the identity of the murderer, but the true nature of this crime. The murder that has yet to be committed, yet already haunts us." He opened the book, and as his fingers traced the ancient script, the words seemed to blur and shift before his eyes. In that moment, the library around him vanished, replaced by a vision of a future that was yet to come. The streets of a bustling city, filled with people who lived their lives unaware of the coming storm. A man stood at the center of the chaos, his face twisted in a mask of rage and grief. He was the murderer, but his identity was obscured, hidden behind the veil of time. And yet, Elias could sense his presence, could feel the weight of his sorrow, the pain that drove him to commit such an unspeakable act. But this was not the future Elias had seen. No, this was only one possibility. The future was not fixed, it was a river, winding and shifting, its course determined by the choices of those who would come after. And yet, Elias could not shake the feeling that this murder, this crime, was the key to everything. It was the pivot upon which the entire universe would turn. "We must stop it," Clea whispered, her voice filled with urgency. "We cannot allow this murder to happen. Not again." Elias closed the book with a quiet snap, his face pale with the weight of what he had seen. "We will stop it, Clea. But first, we must understand why it happens, why this crime is written into the very fabric of time." They stood in the silence, the weight of the future pressing down upon them. And as the flickering light of the lantern cast long shadows across the ancient library, Elias knew that the path ahead would be fraught with danger and deception. The murder was only the beginning. Elias and Clea stood in the stillness of the library, their hearts heavy with the weight of what had been revealed. The path before them stretched long and uncertain, a series of convoluted choices that would ultimately lead them to the heart of the mystery. Each decision, each moment, rippled through the ages, creating echoes that would reverberate in ways they could not yet understand. As the silence stretched, Elias's thoughts turned inward. His mind, a labyrinth of interwoven timelines, was focused on the moment of the murder, an event that had not yet come to pass, yet seemed to loom over him like an inescapable storm. The vision he had seen, the man in the streets, the unspeakable act, was only a part of a greater whole. And it was up to him and Clea to uncover the rest of the pieces. The weight of prophecy hung heavily in the air, yet Elias could not shake the feeling that the murderer was not just a simple villain. No, this person, whoever he was part of something far greater. A web of fate, a cosmic puzzle that had yet to be solved. But Elias knew one thing for certain: this murder was no accident. It was a force of destiny, intricately woven into the very fabric of time. "We need more answers," Clea said, breaking the silence that had enveloped them. "We've glimpsed the future, but it's incomplete. What is the motive behind this murder? What drives him to commit such an act?" Elias nodded, his eyes narrowing as he pondered her words. "The answer lies within the future itself," he replied. "We must look deeper into the threads of time. I believe the murder is a turning point, a moment that will define the course of history." Clea looked up at the sky, her expression thoughtful. "Then we must journey forward. The crime will occur soon, but the future is still malleable. We can stop it if we understand the forces at play." The decision was made. They would travel forward in time to the very moment when the murder was destined to occur. But time, as Elias knew all too well, was not a straight path. It was a river with currents that could sweep them off course. And the closer they got to the moment of the crime, the more dangerous the journey became. As Elias and Clea activated their time travel device, the air around them seemed to warp, twisting and bending as if the very laws of physics were being torn apart. The colors of the world shifted, fading into a blur of light and shadow. They felt themselves being pulled forward, away from the present, away from everything they knew. When the world settled around them again, they found themselves in the heart of a sprawling city, vast, noisy, and alive with the hustle and bustle of the future. The streets were filled with people, their faces aglow with the glow of holographic advertisements and the hum of technology. It was a time of great progress, a time when humanity had reached the peak of its potential. Yet, beneath the surface of this bright new world, there was a darkness, a seed of violence that was about to be sown. "This is it," Elias said, his voice low. "This is where it happens." The city around them seemed to pulse with an energy of its own, a kind of frenetic movement that mirrored the chaos in Elias's mind. The murder was close, so close that he could almost feel it. He could see the face of the murderer, but his identity was still obscured by the shroud of time. It was as if the very fabric of reality itself was protecting this secret, keeping it hidden from their reach. Clea stepped forward, her eyes scanning the crowd. "Where do we begin?" she asked. "How do we stop a crime that hasn't yet occurred?" Elias paused, his mind racing. "We start by finding the one who will commit the murder. The key to this crime lies in his motives. He is driven by something deep inside him. If we can uncover that, we can prevent it from happening." Together, they walked through the city, their eyes searching for any clue, any sign that would point them to the murderer. As they passed through the crowded streets, Elias's senses were heightened. Every person they passed, every face they saw, felt like a potential thread in the tangled web of time. But none of them stood out. None of them felt like the person they were searching for. Then in the midst of the crowd, Elias saw him. The man was standing on the corner of a busy intersection, his face obscured by the crowd. But there was something about him, something that sent a chill down Elias's spine. He felt a pull, an undeniable sense that this was the one. This was the murderer. The man's eyes were dark, filled with a grief so profound that it almost radiated from him. He was tall, with a lean frame, and wore a long coat that billowed in the wind. His presence was both unsettling and magnetic, as though he were an agent of fate, an instrument of something larger than himself. "Is that him?" Clea whispered, her voice barely audible. Elias nodded. "Yes, that's him. But the question remains, why?" They approached the man cautiously, their movements slow and deliberate. As they got closer, Elias's mind raced. He could feel the weight of destiny pressing down on him, pushing him forward, urging him to act. Without warning, the man turned, and their eyes locked. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. The world around them blurred, the sounds of the city fading into nothing. Elias could hear the man's breath, slow and deliberate, and in that moment, he understood. This was no ordinary person. This man was caught in a web of destiny, a victim of forces greater than himself. "You know who I am," the man said, his voice low and full of sorrow. "You've seen what I'll do." Elias's heart skipped a beat. "Yes," he replied. "We know." The man's eyes softened, a flicker of recognition passing between them. "Then you know why I must do it. It is the only way to set things right." Clea stepped forward, her voice firm. "No, it doesn't have to be this way. There is another path. You don't have to commit this crime. There is always another choice." The man's eyes darkened, the grief within him turning to rage. "You don't understand. I don't have a choice. The future is already written. I am simply playing my part." But Elias stepped forward, his voice steady. "No, you are wrong. The future is not written. It is fluid. You have the power to change it." For a long moment, the man stood silent, as if wrestling with an inner storm. Then slowly he lowered his head, the weight of his sorrow consuming him. "I don't know if I can change it," he whispered. "You can," Elias said softly. "And you will." And in that moment, as the winds of time howled around them, the man made his choice. The path of violence was broken, and the murder, once destined to occur, was averted. Conclusion. In the end, the mystery was not just about solving a crime. It was about understanding the delicate balance between fate and free will. The events that unfolded were a testament to the power of choice, the ability to shape one's destiny, and the strength of those who dared to defy the future. Elias and Clea had proven that the future was not a fixed road, it was a river, constantly shifting, shaped by the actions of those who walked it. As the city around them returned to its normal rhythm, the two travelers knew their journey was far from over. They had only scratched the surface of the greater mystery, but they were ready to face whatever challenges awaited. For in the heart of every mystery, there is always a deeper truth waiting to be uncovered.